Y'all, it's Hope here at Crafty Hope. Welcome. I am continuing to share my Junk Journal January pages with you that I made as part of the Junk Journal January challenge from Meg Journals. I'll link Meg below. This was a prompted challenge through the whole month of January with 31 days of prompts from her and lots of videos you can find online. It's taken me a while to get these shared with you. So I've got, I think, 4 more after this one. That may be right. So I hope y'all are enjoying these, but yeah. Let's go on with that. I'll have information about it below, and if there's something I don't cover, just ask me. I will definitely respond to you. So I am using this little junk journal that I made, and the prompt this day was day 25, and the prompt was Ombre. So I wasn't completely sure what I was going to do, except that I needed to have some kind of ombre on here. And I'm starting with collage. Now you can see I'm collaging only the right side of the page here. I think that was a thinner paper that I didn't feel comfortable with, whereas the left one I think looks like maybe I can't tell. It was a thicker page, maybe a yearbook page that was kind of thick. So I didn't bother with collaging it, except I am going to add this big tea bag on top of it. Now I used the collage on the right. I used my Oohoo glue stick to stick all that down. But to stick this tea bag down, I'm going to use some fluid matte medium. Putting it down on my page, spreading it with this silicone face applicator spreader thing. And then I will put the tea bag down. Now it ends up giving, I'm going to cover it up almost completely, but it gives some really neat texture, like woven texture in the back of it. So once I get it applied down, I'm going to, put a little more glue on the top of it, flatten it out, and just spread that out. It tore in a couple places, like in that crease and that kind of thing. I'm not super concerned about it. It was more about just altering that page just a little bit and giving it some additional texture, because the page on the right with all the collage and everything got a lot of texture, whereas the page on the left didn't really get any texture. So adding this tea bag is giving it just a hint of something. And then putting it on both pages makes it, for me in my head, it makes it continuous and integrates these two things. I'm going to use this spreader here to kind of make sure everything's spread out and flattened down very nicely. And Okay, now this was a page that was really well liked on Instagram. I find that funny because at the time I wasn't sure I liked it, but so many people really loved it. In fact, it got shared by Get Messy, who is the collaborator with Meg for this challenge. So I was like, okay, well maybe it's not so bad. So I picked out 3 shades of pink acrylic paint. Y'all, if you know me, you know pink is not usually my jam. I don't know what made me go for it, but I think I wanted to challenge myself, and I've got these pink paints. Why not try it? So I'm using this hot pink patio paint, this Americana paint in probably Peony Pink, and then I think this is also Americana, and it's probably I think it's like bubblegum pink, something like that. I will look and let you know below if I still have it. So, and I got far too much of that. So I did pick up a little bit of it to kind of wet my brush. And you can see I'm working my way down, starting with that darker color at the top and working it down to that lightest color, making an ombre effect. Now, I will admit to you that when it's all said and done, I really wish I had put the lighter color at the top and the darker color at the bottom, just because of the weight of a darker color. It feels, like the gravity of it. It feels like the heavier things, the darker things need to be at the bottom. But it's okay. This it's not a huge deal. This was just something fun, an experiment, and I'm going for it. So I keep adding a little bit more of that hot pink patio paint up there, just because it keeps getting washed up, because I'm using that lighter color to kind of blend up there. So, and I'm just trying to make sure more than anything I keep the ombre there. And I'm going to use my finger here to help blend that a little bit, to take out some of the harsher lines and things that flat brush just wasn't giving me. All right. So I think somewhere in here I'm going to dry this. Now, as I dry it, somehow you can't really see it, but in that upper left corner, the heat of it made like that paper bubble or something. And when I go to do another step later, you're going to see how that, yeah, that texture is brought out. So I'm playing, y'all, I really liked that lace on there. I'm playing with different things. I've got a little bowl full of little things I wanted to try to bring into these junk journals. And I'm gonna, yeah, futz just a little bit. That's what makes this video just a little bit longer. I do a lot of time auditioning things, and I just couldn't find anything that worked. And I decided what it was bothering me was that it was so pink and pretty and perfect and all of that, and I needed to grunge this up. So I've grabbed my little yogurt cup that has some dried up instant coffee in it, and I've reconstituted it with just some water. And I'm going to paint around on the page with it and spritz it to get it to move and pick up those textures and things. And yeah, like I said, there's some texture in that upper left that ends up getting picked up that I don't know about. Now, because this little book is already pretty hefty on that left side, everything's sliding into the crease there. So I did use a paper towel to pick up some of that in the crease. But I have found that this instant coffee is it works really beautifully for picking up texture, and I don't know why. It's such a weird thing. Okay. Oh, I think I may add more coffee in a little bit. There's that little bucket I have of laces and papers and just interesting bits of things that I want to use in this journal, or use in general, that things that I often forget about. I've lately been curating bits because I found myself getting quite overwhelmed by the amount of stuff in my stash, and then it becomes very hard for me to decide on using anything other than scraps because there's just so much to choose from. So I found if I curate a little bowl or a little container or something like that, and I only allow myself to choose from that, then I have an easier time using those things, the bits of lace, the interesting scrapbook materials, the stickers, all of that stuff. It's, yeah. Okay, there you can see I added a bit more of that coffee, and it picks up that texture there. And this is a piece of, I believe, I don't even know if that gets used in here. We'll see if it comes back. It's just a piece of coffee dyed fabric is what it was. I'm using a Stabilo all pencil and graphite there to add some scribbles, and then I'll use a paintbrush to activate that a little because it is a Stabilo all. It is water reactive, which darkens it up a little bit, and I love that. But I wanted some movement on here. I wanted more grunge and a little bit more, I don't know, lines, less of that continuous pink in there. I don't know. It just, yeah. Okay, there's that coffee dyed fabric. Like I said, I can't remember if it ends up in here. It does. I folded it over. It's something about the length of it felt too long. And and once I folded it over, I was like, oh, you know what it needs? It needs a big rusty paper clip. So I went and got, it's another yogurt container, y'all, that holds a bunch of rusty things, straight pins and paper clips and things like that I don't want loose to stick my hand in. So, and I don't know why I wanted to make this little badge. It just felt right. So what I decided to do, because I just folded it over there, is I was like, no, what I really want to do is actually weave that on there so it's a bit more permanent. So I will, and I'm doing everything I can not to poke myself with that rusty safety pin as I weave that fabric onto it and then close it, for the safety feature. And then straighten that back out. And I like that little bit of gathering there. And then I went and grabbed some pink buttons. I have a ton of buttons, and I have a small selection that are sorted by color. So I went and pulled out my little pink container and sorted through, and I found this pink that felt a bit like it went with the pinks that were already on there. And And because I wanted to keep that grunge and all of that, I also grabbed some other pearl buttons and found one that fit nicely on top of that one. Yeah, see, I wasn't feeling that color. I didn't think. So I'm gonna sort through some buttons, trying to decide which one feels like the best on this page. We'll see which one it is. I'm moving things, stacking things, but the mother of pearl button helps me bring that color down a little bit. So it's, I want this to be kind of a focal, but at the same time, I don't want it to be like, look at me. I want it to be like, hey, look at me. Does that make sense? And that mother of pearl button helped like calm it down a little. So I've grabbed a bit of an off-white embroidery floss. I went ahead and threaded it, knotted it off camera so you don't have to watch all of that nonsense. And now I'm going to sew this little button stack onto this piece of coffee dyed fabric. That fabric, y'all, I wish I knew. Probably one of my favorite things is a Dollar Tree flour sack towel. They are hard to find, but when I see them, I always get 2 of them. So I've got tons of them. It's just 100% cotton towel at the Dollar Tree. You can probably get flour sack towels cheaper at like Walmart or something, but the ones at the Dollar Tree are super thin and they tear great, and they're almost like a thick cheesecloth. So yeah, I always get them. I don't know. All right, so I just did a simple sewing of that on, tied it off, and now I'm going to take a look at it and decide what else this needs. And what I decided to need was some stamping. So I have pulled out some Stays On ink in ganache, which is like a dark brown, and my letter stamps. Now you can kind of see here, I've got a container. It's a plastic organizer, and I have organized each little compartment has a letter. I have found this much easier to use than the little blocks of the groups of them. Those, I struggle with getting them out. I struggle with putting them back. So this way I know what letter I need. I go in there, I find the font I need. It's so much easier for me. That's just a me thing. So I am picking out the letters for the word joy. Again, I'm not even sure if the fonts all match, but they're the fonts that felt right for what I wanted to stamp on here. So I'm putting it on a little bit of a harder surface just so that it doesn't have as much give, but it's not hard enough because it's seriously just a plastic container. So I'm stamping the word joy. I did the O first to kind of center it. No, I didn't. Did I? I guess I thought I did. Yeah. And then I did my Y and then my J. And this is not a great stamping. Again, I should have used an even harder surface than that plastic giving container, but it was harder than the book. So, and I think there was stuff I didn't want to press too hard on whatever was on the back side of that. Yeah, whatever day 24 was. I don't know, did I share that one with y'all? I don't remember. All right, so I decided I needed a few more of those graphite marks on there. Just wasn't feeling complete to me. And yeah, I'm tapping my fingers. Probably need some splatter. So I have got Distress Oxide in Rusty Hinge. I'm putting on a piece of acetate, spritzing that with some water, and then I will splatter it on the page. And this helps because I'm going to use that rusty safety pin. It helps me feel like there's a bit of rust on there. It's still not going to be quite what I need, so I think I'll end up grabbing, if I'm remembering correctly, y'all. This was almost a month ago. I don't know anymore. So I think what I'm going to end up grabbing is the Black Soot Distress Oxide. It seems like what I was like, what feels right? What would I do here? And it's what I did. Some Black Soot Distress Oxide. And I'll do the same thing. Stamp it onto that acetate, spray it, use a very wet paintbrush, and splatter. Just like that. And then once I get it all splattered just the way I wanted, I am going to try it. Y'all, look, I took that pink and made it grunge-licious and so much more like me than just a pink ombre feels like to me. All right. So did you see the finger snapping? Um, I, something about my little stack and everything here did not feel grungy enough. So I tried to grunge up that pink button with some of that, putting some of that ganache stays on my finger and rubbing it on the button. It didn't do a whole lot. And I didn't want to really like completely mess up with that button. So what I decided to do is use some, oh, what is this? I think it's Vintage Photo distress ink that I put on that acetate, and I'm going to splatter on the fabric to try to make that fabric feel even more aged. It doesn't really do a whole lot in the end. The fabric ends up soaking it all in, and the splatter just doesn't really show up. So it's not a huge deal. I am wiping it off the buttons and all of that. It just, yeah. Once that dries, you'll never, in the pictures, I don't think you can even see that little bit of ink that's on there. So to glue that down, I am going to use Fabri-Tac. So I'll put it just kind of on the back of where the button is and the fabric. I don't even think I bother with the safety pin. So the safety pin itself is not even glued to the page. It's just kind of hanging in there with the fabric. And I'll put that down. I don't press it down until I know it's exactly where I want it. So I'm holding it. It sticks fairly quickly. And yeah, that's it. I'm going to give you quite a few looks at this. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. If you like it, give me that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I will see y'all later with more of these, along with who knows what else. Come back and see. Thanks for watching. Bye.